Last month, the CEO, he announced of all the hiring for all the new pilots that are coming up this year, all the hiring for the new pilots, the main focus is going to be diversity. What? Diversity? Not the best pilots you can find? The ones with the most hours of experience? Ones who've done it before? Maybe? Nope, diversity. I don't know about you, but I'm sick and tired of flying all the time with these white pilots landing safely and on time. Boring.
I'm sick and tired of these white pilots always getting me to where I need to go safely. Goodness gracious, this stuff is terrible, man. It's terrible. Yeah, this whole DEI push, we got to talk about this today because I believe it's getting out of hand. I mean, it already has been out of hand, but I mean, it's really getting out of hand. Like, share, comment, and hit that subscribe button if you are new. And we got to dive into United Airlines CEO Scott Kirby because I'm just going to roll the tape. Let's dive in.
Military. How is diversity and diversity targets working into the Aviate Academy?
We have committed that 50% of the class of the classes will be women or people of color. Today, only 19% of our pilots at United Airlines are women or people of color. And by the way, from all the data I've seen, that's the highest of any airline in the country.
White males don't just dominate in the cockpits, also in the C-suite at United Airlines.
Well, look, at United, I'm proud of the diversity that we actually have in our C-suite. I think if you look around corporate America.
Correct me if I'm saying, though, so this was just based off your website, the people you list as executives, but out of 11 people, 3 are women. I believe 1 is a person of color.
That's correct. But, in corporate America, I think,
That's a low bar. How do you raise your own bar?
Well, a lot of this is, focusing on it. We have programs one of the things we do is for every job when we do an interview, we require women and people of color to be involved in the interview process, bringing people in early in their careers as well, and giving them those opportunities and creating a stronger band. Military.
How is...
Okay, I just have to say it. I have to say it. Have you guys ever noticed that all of these individuals that are pushing this type of DEI policy stuff, the big CEOs and things, you guys notice anything about them? Do you? Do you notice it? Isn't it kind of interesting? They're all white, but they rail against their own skin color. Oh no, we need diversity, equity, and inclusion. Okay, so you're white. Why are you the head of this company? Why don't you give your position to a person of color, since people of color mean so much to you? CEO of United Airlines, President of the United States. If people of color mean that much to you, why are you in your position and not a person of color? Quit your job today and give it to a person of color. And don't go back to work. You go sit at home so people of color can take your positions in society. Since people of color really mean that much to you, show me. Don't talk about it, be about it. How are you supposed to be the head? But I thought, white supremacy was a bad thing. I mean, you looking like a, white supremacist to me. Sitting all high and mighty at your CEO position, at your president position. Why don't you give that position to a person of color? You guys ever notice that? I just find it funny. There's all these white people all of a sudden that are big CEOs and presidents and everything. Oh, diversity, equity, and inclusion. Well, how about let's diversify your position? You gonna quit your job? You can go be a stay-at-home dad? Exactly. It's all a load of BS. They don't really mean it. It's all talk. It's all talk. Guarantee you, if you asked them to give up their position, they wouldn't do it.
Nines are still grounded after a sudden gaping hole ripped through the side of an Alaska Airlines flight. And at least airlines are already reporting that they found loose parts and bolts in the same door panels. And as more details emerge, it's worth asking two questions. How bad could this have really been? And where the heck is Pete Buttigieg? Joining me now, retired Air Force and United Airlines pilot Scott Petillo and Horace Cooper, chair of Project 21. Scott, take that first question. People are saying, oh, all's well that ends well. Well, that's true, but how bad could this have been?
Laura, it could have been much worse than it was. We got very, very lucky with this particular incident that the door came off at 16,000 feet. Had it been a cruise up in the mid 30s, it would have been an explosive decompression. Flight attendants would have been out of their seats. Passengers would have been unbuckled, and it would have ended very, very badly for anybody that was up and about in that airplane. And
does that mean people would have been sucked out of the plane because of the depressurization if you hadn't been buckled in?
Highly possible. Up in 38,000 feet with the pressure differential, if you were anywhere near that, anywhere near one of those seats and you weren't buckled in, there's a high probability you could have been extracted from the aircraft. That is correct.
Horace, we hear this story, and they're still looking for some of the bolts, we understand, that they can't find. But Boeing, they have the doors have fallen off the planes, but at least, they're meeting their diversity goals, I guess, in Boeing, because they say our goal was to achieve diverse interview slates for at least 90% of managers and executives in their openings, and they bragged that they exceeded that target with 92% of interview slates being diverse, resulting in 47% diverse hires at the management and executive levels. Now, Horace, we can't link the diversity efforts to what happened, and that would take an exhaustive investigation. But it's worth asking at this point: is excellence what we need in airline operation, or is diversity the goal here?
In my latest book, I mention this dalliance with DEI, this idea that diversity is more important than a meritocracy. I titled the chapter DIE because this can kill. When I was a kid, we asked this question about whether or not you wanted your cardiologist to be someone who sort of was socially promoted through medical school, or did you want the excellent? We eventually started talking about pilots. Now I read that there are airlines like United, there are airline building companies that are going around saying that we need more diversity rather than talent. The President of the United States has picked Mayor Pete to be in charge of airline safety. Again, choosing diversity over the importance of the real reason there's an FAA, and that's safety. That's making sure that when passengers get on the plane, they are going to actually reach their loved ones.
Well, Scott, we're learning more about what happened at this all-hands safety meeting today at Boeing. The company's president and CEO acknowledging the mistake and saying we're going to approach it with 100% and complete transparency every step of the way. Scott, is that good enough for you?
No, Laura, it's not, because finding out what happened is going to be paramount, and making sure that it doesn't happen again. We trust the officials from the secretary on down to the regulatory agency of the FAA to make sure that these airplanes are put together like we're told they are, and then to come to find out that they're not. And so what other issues are lurking behind the firewall of these aircraft that we're going to find out at some later time through some kind of disaster, only to be told that, well, we're working on it and we're going to get to the bottom of it. So no, just it is not enough to say that. They need to investigate and find out what happened, how these bolts, who missed the point of inspections and certifying these things, whether it be the FAA or Boeing.
Yeah, and apparently some of the airlines have found loosened bolts in their aircraft. I mean, they always say in the pre-flight, announcements, safety is our first priority. Well, I hope so, but it seems like in some cases DEI might be. Scott and Horace, thank you so much.
Yeah. They're going to get somebody hurt. They're going to get someone seriously hurt pushing for this diversity thing. And listen, I have no problem with the person of color being hired, right? Because I know some Democrats are going to try to spin it that way. That's not the problem. The problem is the focus on skin color rather than skill or experience. That's the problem. That's the problem. So you're taking my skin color over my actual skill. And when you start doing stuff like that, you'll have doors flying off of planes mid-flight, right? Now, I don't know exactly what happened under that circumstance, but I'm saying similar things will probably happen because you're hiring people who aren't even actually qualified for that position. You're hiring them simply because of the color of their skin. There was a guy who once said, some of you might remember him. He said, we should be judging people by the content of the character and not the color of one's skin. Some of you might know who that guy is. I'm just saying. So why are we judging people by the color of their skin? I thought Republicans were the racist ones, Seems like it's constantly Democrats who always want to talk about skin color. Why does my skin color matter? Why does the fact that my skin color happens to be similar to somebody else's, like that's all of a sudden supposed to be a great thing for me? As if like we're family or cousins or we think exactly the same or like I don't understand. Like I'm confused. Like am I supposed to get like it? Ooh, black people, like I don't care about skin color. I don't care. When I step on a plane, I want to know that you can get me to where my ticket says you're supposed to take me. Can you get me there and get me there safely? That's all that matters. I don't care if you're tall, short, fat, skinny, black, white, blue, purple. If you're from Mars, doesn't matter. Can you get me there safely? That's all that should matter. That's all that should matter. And to the CEO of United Airlines, since you care so much about people of color, give your job to a person of color. Resign today and give your job and recommend that they give your job to a person of color. If you want the rest of us to believe in this diversity thing, you start. Lead by example. Show us. Just saying. Y'all let me know what you thought about this one in the comment section below. Like, share, comment, and hit that subscribe button before you go. Peace and love. I'm out.